I would like to introduce everyone to my new friend, Peter Cutler, Zen monk, artist, and teacher. He helps people experience the awakened consciousness that is always available to everyone. For the past 20 years, Peter's openness to the pure energy beyond the limitations of thought and separation have helped hundreds of people directly experience the pure, boundless energy of their true self through direct transmission of Shaktipat.
Shaktipat, yeah.
It's close. In some cases, people have experienced freedom from chronic physical illnesses, but far more profoundly, dozens have awakened to their true nature. The title of this presentation, this experiential session, is The Transmission of Love and Light, and it is my joy and my blessing, and the hair is standing up on my arms to introduce you, everyone, to Peter Cutler.
Thank
Welcome,
you, Cindy.
Peter.
Thank you, Cindy. This is, my name's Peter Cutler, and Peter is a fairly nice guy and reasonably clever. And he's learned over the past 40 years how to get out of the way. And that's really that's his skill. But what's presenting this is not Peter. Peter can't really do something like this. Not this transmission, not this teaching, really. It's something much more than that. More than a personal self. Far more than a personal self. And that's always what teaches. And that's always this transmission. It's not a personal self. It's not a person transmitting to other people or another person. It's beyond that idea of separation, of persons, of illusion. And that's why a transmission happens, because there is no transmitter. There is no receiver of a transmission. There is no transmission. And that's why a transmission happens. It's hard for the mind to comprehend this. So in order to have this direct experience, we need to be beyond thought. We need to be beyond the mind, beyond the limitations of the mind, because the mind is what keeps us from reality. You know, it has many uses, and it's very useful for functioning in the world in a limited way. But it's not truth. It's not reality. It's an abstraction of what's true. And the only way we can really understand truth is to directly experience it beyond the mind. We have to feel it. And so what I'd like to do is offer some experiential practices that will help free you from the limitations of the mind and experience something of reality, something that's real. And a nice way to start with this is something that the mind can't object to, something that the mind can't say, no, I don't know, or, you know, this is just too obvious for the mind to be able to resist it. And yet we can have an experience beyond the mind with this. And so this is an experience of space, right? If you look around the room, look around your room, you can see that in between every object, there is space, isn't there? In between you and the computer screen, you and the phone, there's space. There's space above you, on either side of you, all around you, and there's space between all the objects in the room. But it's something that we don't usually focus our attention on. So I'm asking now if you'll focus your attention instead of on the objects on space itself. And if that's challenging for you, there's a very easy way to begin doing that, which is to take your hands in front of you and move them back until they're at the side of your head. And look at your hands with your peripheral vision. You do this when you drive. So instead of focusing on just one object in front of you, use your peripheral vision and see your hands. So now your vision isn't so focused on one thing, it's 180 degrees, right? You can move your hands back and forth a little bit until you can just see them. Wiggle your fingers and you know, oh, okay, I can see my hands with my peripheral vision. My eyes are looking straight ahead, but I'm also seeing my hands. And you notice that your vision is not quite as clear as it was before. Things get a little bit fuzzy, a little bit blurry when you have this focus on the whole 180 degrees on everything. But at the same time, there's a feeling of space. Because instead of just focusing on one thing, you're focusing on the whole 180 degrees, right? And until the point is to feel this space so that it becomes a feeling, a direct experience. Your mind can't object to that space is here. It is. But now we're focusing on that space, the feeling of that space. And we know that space is not just the 180 degrees in front of us, but it's also behind us, above us, below us. It's all around us. This space, it's real. And if we keep our attention there, we realize that the room is filled with space. In fact, it's mostly space. And this space isn't just limited to our room, it's outside the room. And if we're beginning to feel this space, to really feel it, which we should be, we realize that this space is also inside us because we're feeling it. It's inside us, it's outside us, and it's the exact same space. Inside and outside are the same. It's the same space. And the space in our room and inside us is the same space as the space between the earth and the sun. The same space as the space between stars. And if we've ever looked up into a night sky, we felt a little bit of that space. We know that that space is real. And if we know anything about science or physics, we know that the space in all the objects that we're looking at, that's actually space too, mostly space. Space in between molecules, in molecules. Space in between the cells in our body. Space that the cells are made up out of. It's mostly space. So this space is very, very real, even though it's not something that we think about a lot. And as we begin to feel this space, to keep our attention on this space, which also doesn't have a lot of words associated with it, a lot of thoughts. It's a feeling. It's pretty hard to describe it, really, or maybe impossible. It's just space. Inside us, outside us, everywhere. This feeling of space. And Cindy, I'm going to ask you to keep track of time for me. because when I'm deeply into space, I don't really have much track of time. Time also is a concept, and that also dissolves in the space. Everything does. Now, if we're feeling space, more than thinking it, but actually feeling this space inside us, outside us, it's here. Our mind can't deny it, but now we're focusing on it, so suddenly we start feeling it. So we haven't been doing this in most of our life. We've only focused on objects, very narrowly focused. Now our focus is expanded a great deal, a great deal. This space. And if we're feeling this space, we're also aware of it, aren't we? Right? We're aware of it. We're aware of the word space in our mind, and we're aware of the feeling of space. We're aware of that. What is it that's aware? And this expands us even more. This awareness. Our mind could jump to conclusions and say, oh, I know what it is. I know what awareness is. But anything we think is an object of awareness. It can't be awareness. If we're aware of space, space also can't be awareness. Because anything that we're aware of is an object of awareness. Awareness is not the object of awareness. It's awareness itself. So everything we're aware of is not the object of awareness. Everything we're aware of is the object of awareness, but it's not awareness. So this is a self-inquiry that goes very deep. What is it that's aware? It's not a question for the mind. It's not a question for the mind because any thought that comes up is an object of awareness. So it cannot be awareness. So it's helpful with this understanding that we let go of every thought that comes up because we want to know what awareness is. So we keep letting go of everything that's not awareness. And our thoughts quiet down because they can't really help us. And the feeling, the direct experience is so much more than any thought could ever be. Hmm. That feels good. That was quicker than I thought. But to feel this, stay with that feeling. Something more than thought, something more than all thought, something more than all our spiritual knowledge, all our beliefs, something more than that. God cannot be found in a thought. or a belief, but in the direct experience of something more than that. Our true nature before thought, before conditioning, before even this body. So just stay with this. Close your eyes, it will help. You don't need to see me or anything else, really. It allows the attention to come inward, inside, because this is really where we experience what's true. Not through our eyes, not through our senses, not through our thoughts, but another type of experience. A beingness, a being, even beyond I am. Mhm. It's okay if thoughts come, that's all right. Let them come, but you don't need to follow them. Return to the feeling, the direct experience. What is this experience? What is this energy? Without having an answer to it, just pay attention. Just as you paid attention to space, now you're paying attention to something else that has no words, no thoughts, no mental answer. It's beyond that. And yet it's not anything new, really. It's always been here. It's always been you, not personally you, but this vast, infinite, undivided totality, you. Be curious about what this is and pay attention to what this is, but let your questions go for a moment. There'll be time to ask questions later. Just pay attention to what is beyond thought. So many different experiences people are having, but it's all the experience for you. It's all the perfect experience for you in this moment.